What will happen when Rassie Erasmus goes? This is not something Springbok supporters want to even think about. But we have to be realistic. The day will come, eventually. And in this episode, you are going to get a front row seat as I look at the leading candidates to one day take over from Doc. I'll also give you a countdown of my top 5 candidates, but before all of that, the good news is that Doctor Rassie Erasmus has a contract until the end of the 2027 Rugby World Cup. So he's going nowhere for now, and neither are his coaching staff. But we also know in professional sport, things can change quickly. Players and coaches fail to see out contracts for all kinds of reasons because, well, life happens. That said, I think we should rightly assume that we've got Rassie until the World Cup in Australia. But what happens then? Right now, I think I speak for all of us when I say I hope Doc signs a fresh 4-year contract after that. Nas Botha has even suggested Erasmus should coach the Springboks for the next 20 years. But I also know that he might not want to. At some point, he might feel the job is too demanding, or he might want to spend more time with his family, or whatever the case may be. It's also possible Rassie might want to return to the role of director of rugby. I feel comfortable sitting here telling you that in my opinion, Dr. Rassie Erasmus is the greatest coach in the history of the Springboks. But I also feel we're in pretty good shape in terms of our coaching stocks. And while I firmly believe South African rugby coaching overall is not at the level it could be, I also think finding a few world-class candidates for a potentially vacant Springbok head coach job will not be difficult. So with that being said, let me present to you a list of men who I feel will be part of the conversation, even if just casually at a braai, but I actually think we can rule out. This top 10 features guys who, while being very good coaches in their own right, are to me very unlikely to actually get the job. By the way, if you would prefer to just jump straight to my top 5 contenders, then just look down there below for the chapters and skip right ahead. But of course, I'd prefer if you stay with me. And so, at number 10, I've got Eddie Jones. He has led Australia and England to Rugby World Cup finals and won the Tri-Nations and Six Nations titles. But he does have a reputation for doing more damage than good the longer he stays in a job. Still, it's an interesting proposition. Another Jones, Felix, is at number 9. The Irishman has been a key cog in the Springbok coaching wheel. He's well loved by Rassie as well as Boks supporters. Jones could prove to be a popular choice, but I think his first head coach job is more likely to be with a URC team or even the Irish national side. Number 8, Tony Brown, another man currently within the Springbok coaching umbrella. The former All Black was brought in last year to help spruce up the Bok attack, and there are already early exciting signs of what has become known as Tony Ball. I rule these 3 men out for one key reason. Because despite who they are and what they have achieved and how they are perceived, I just cannot see a foreigner ever coaching the Springboks. South Africa, New Zealand and France are the only major rugby nations that have never appointed a foreigner as head coach, and I think that's right. But I would also like to see it stay that way. Our 3 countries have such a rich rugby history and heritage as well as the necessary expertise to go with that. And yes, I know that in a professional sport you take the best coach you can afford. England thought that to be Eddie Jones a few years ago. Ireland, Scotland and Wales have regularly gone with foreign coaches. Even the Wallabies and Argentina have done it too. But I love the idea that our attitude is we are among the greatest of rugby nations. We know how to play this game. We know how to do it better than you. And we'll appoint one of our own. It might be a little arrogant, sure, but no foreign coach has ever won a Rugby World Cup. And as far as possible, I really hope the Springboks, All Blacks and France never appoint a foreigner as head coach. Nothing wrong with having foreign expertise as part of the wider coaching staff. We've got Felix and Tony Brown in our setup, for example. But you want a national to lead the team, I would say. And so let's get back to the list, shall we? Number 7, Heineke Meyer. Rassie coming back as head coach after the 2023 Rugby World Cup was unprecedented. While we have seen other teams bring former coaches back for a second stint, that's not really the way it has worked historically in South Africa. Meyer did well enough in his time as Springbok coach, but I don't think there's an appetite to have him return, and I'm not sure he'd want it either. My guess is that he is instead eyeing a rebuilding job at a franchise, and that takes us to number 6, Jake White. Another former Boks boss who won the Tri-Nations and 2007 Rugby World Cup. White has incredible experience and as a rugby coach has done and seen it all. Like Meyer, I don't believe there's any appetite to have him back in the national team hot seat though. Guys, before we continue, I have to tell you about this exciting new Springbok comic book that is coming out soon. And check this out, I'm going to be in it. But you can also be in the first officially licensed Springbok Rugby comic. Yep, you and me alongside Sia, Eben and Faf. But only 100 lucky fans will have a chance to be featured this way in Forever Green, Forever Gold. Imagine featuring in the debut issue of this special bit of history. The cost is 500 Rand per person. To get yourself hand-drawn to exact detail, email sketchme at springboksrugbycomic.com. I'll put that in the description area below for you as well. Let's get back to today's video. Number 5, Frans Ludeker. Here's a man who had a disastrous spell at the Lions in the mid-2000s and turned his career around spectacularly by leading the Bulls to 2 Super 14 titles. Ludeker is currently in Japan where he has enjoyed success with the Kubota Spears. It's hard to say that any South African rugby coach would not want the Springbok job, but it's also possible Ludeker has accepted it probably won't come his way. And like with White and Meyer, there's probably not much of an appetite for a Ludeker appointment anyway. Number 4, John Dobson. This is an interesting one because Dobbo divides opinion. Personally, I think he has done a wonderful job in Cape Town with Western Province and the Stormers. The Western Province Rugby Football Union has in fact only just come out of administration. Since October 2021, it has been unable to vote at the SARU General Council. Off the field, Western Province has become a clown organisation. But on the field, Dobson managed to lead the Stormers to the inaugural URC crown. And I don't care what anyone says, Province still has the most beautiful jersey in all of rugby. That said, Dobbo has had his critics, and quite frankly, each season appears to get progressively worse. Still, I think an injury crisis and boardroom chaos cannot be helpful, and while I will defend Dobson, many will not. Either way, he just isn't a Springbok head coach frontrunner. Number 3, Swys de Bruin. Swys has a reputation in South African rugby for being a tactical genius and attacking mastermind. He was part of Rassie's coaching staff previously, but then walked away. De Bruin is currently involved with the Springbok women. He's also 65, and you have to wonder if perhaps the moment has passed. If there ever was going to be a moment, that is. Number 2, Duane Vermeulen. I know this is a bit of a left field option, but I think Rassie clearly sees something in the way Duane sees the game. I think we could have also thrown in a freshly retired Sia Kolisi and or Willie Leroux here. All of these men could become future Springbok coaches, all part of the coaching staff. Willie might be a great backline coach. Sia could be a highly inspirational figure as a coach, although he didn't enjoy sitting in the coach's box against Argentina last year. So if that's a sign of things to come, then perhaps he might stay away from coaching after he retires. Nevertheless, in terms of a recently retired player taking the top job, Vermeulen would be in pole position. But I don't think he comes in ahead of my number 1 here, Deon Davids. This is a man with a wealth of experience. He has a good reputation and has been part of the Springbok setup for a long time now. There has been talk of him taking the big job in the past. But I just get the feeling that if there's going to be an internal promotion, Davids is not first in line. So to be clear, those are the men who I think might be mentioned as Springbok coach contenders in the event of a vacancy. But I don't think they'll actually get the job. Right, now let's get to that top 5. In order, as I see it. Number 5, Johan Ackermann. I think a decade ago he might have been at the front of the queue to become the next Boks coach. Ackermann did a magnificent job with the Lions, but his work in England and Japan since has largely been under the radar stuff. And to that end, I think he's more likely to be brought on board as an assistant coach than the man to lead the charge. Number 4, Johan van Graan. This is a man who is doing a great job right now in English rugby with Bath. Van Graan also has a previous experience as a Springbok assistant coach when he was in charge of the forwards. He has grown tremendously since then. But, like Ackermann, I think perhaps it is more likely he takes an assistant coaching role with the Boks. Number 3, Jacques Nienaber. I won't lie, guys, I wasn't sure about my numbers 2 and 3, and quite frankly, I'm still not sure. So Jacques could well be number 2 and my 2-3 on this list, actually. Perhaps they are equal second. Nienaber was our head coach when he won the Rugby World Cup in 2023. He's a beloved figure in South African rugby and is highly thought of throughout world rugby, except in Ireland, where he has been blamed for the national team's defensive frailties. I would not rule out a return to the Boks setup, and no doubt he would be welcomed back with open arms. Number 2, Mzwandile Stick. Stocker has come a long way. He captained South Africa's Sevens team in what was arguably the golden period for the Blitzbokke. Stick was then appointed backline coach under Alistair Coetzee. It didn't work out and he was heavily criticised. Rassie then brought him back and asked him to use his Sevens experience as an off-the-ball expert. Not only has it worked, but Stick now enjoys a reputation as one of world rugby's top coaches. And from what I can tell, his appears to be an important voice inside the Springbok camp. I think he is a genuine contender to become the next Springbok head coach. And if Rassie is looking to promote from within, then I see Stick as being first choice. Number 1, Franco Smith. But if there is to be no promotion from within, then the clear and obvious frontrunner for me is this man. Smith has coached at the Cheetahs, Italy and Scotland, as well as previously being involved with the Boks as an assistant coach. Interestingly enough, he took over Stick's old job in Alistair Coetzee's second season in charge. Smith has developed a reputation as a hard worker, deep thinker, and excellent executioner as a head coach who has established one of the great team cultures at the Glasgow Warriors. I say this with the utmost respect. I don't think a Scottish team is supposed to win the URC. Well, don't tell that to Franco Smith, who led them to glory just last season. Another important factor to consider is what role Rassie might play. If he stays on, my money would be on a Nienaber return or a Stick promotion. If Rassie walks away, then I think Franco Smith is the man. He'll come in with a clean slate and appoint his own coaching staff. So it ultimately will come down to a case of continuity or a fresh start. I wonder what you would prefer. Let me know in the comment section down below who you think will be the ideal replacement for Dr. Rassie. Now, that is of course when the time eventually comes, not right now. And while you're down there, may I encourage you to give me a super thanks. That's the heart button with a $sign inside of it. You'll get to make a highlighted comment, which I promise to reply to. I'll also hit the love button on your comment. And you'll get to make a donation of your choice to help me towards my dream of doing this full-time, guys. I also hope to go to Australia in 2027 and cover the Rugby World Cup for you from down under on a daily basis. So if you'd like to help me on my way, $1, $10 or $1 million would be greatly appreciated. It's totally up to you and your choice. If you're not yet ready to help me out with a donation, but you'd still like to support me, you can also just hit the like button. or spear tackle that thing. You can also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. And since this video was mostly about Rassie Erasmus and the Rugby World Cup, why not take a trip with me down memory lane and check out this video I did looking back at how we won that 2019 Rugby World Cup against the odds. It's on your screen over here, or you can go watch this exclusive interview I did with Franco Smith about his Springbok playing days. That is over here, and I will speak to you next time.